Welcome to a quick sharp review of the Uzumaki by Junji Ito Omnibus edition. I'm going to be talking a bit about the physical release, a bit about the story itself, and then lastly what music I'd recommend listening to while reading it. So fairly old release, I just thought I'd make a video given that the anime is out now, for anyone who's looking to pick it up. So the cover, we've just got some artwork that's just visible there, with the big spiral motif there, which is repeated on all sides. Binding is pretty nice, so you can see that's a bit of like a sewn thing going on. If we look at how the book bends to pressure, it's not really too bad at all. There's like a cardboard thing on the base here that's covering it. In terms of extra stuff, we've got colour inside cover and colour pages here, colour pages here, colour pages here. Junji Ito stuff always looks weird to me in colour, but I like these sort of washed out, weird looking stuff here as well. The colourist did a really good job with these, but genuinely I don't like these stories in colour, which I think is so great that they decided to do that for the anime, regardless of everything else going on with the anime. And basically we've got about 650 pages or so of the story. So there was 3 initial volumes of this, and they're all packed in this. So this is the entire story, and it revolves around a town that is cursed by the idea of the spiral, and so there's all these spiral things happening in creepy, scary ways in each chapter. You know, any way that you could think about a spiral, like a snail or a cyclone or a whirlpool, they're all sort of represented here, including all this other weird Junji Ito stuff that no one would have thought about before, and that's like why we read these stories, to see what sort of weird, creepy stuff he comes up with. His artwork is the same as ever. I mean, like the faces all look fairly similar, but then you get panels like this, which are really weird and creepy. And of course, famous ones like this. Whoa. So yeah, overall, pretty good. This is one of his earlier works. I actually think it's probably his best work. A lot of his stories have the same issue with Lovecraft's stories, where they sort of just end. And for some people that is a bit frustrating because it doesn't really give any closure to the events. I think that it's fairly done well here. And you get this sort of feeling of dread throughout the whole thing, and then that it ends with the feeling of dread as well, as opposed to just like, oh, we never saw the ghost again and I don't know what happened to it, which is what a lot of his stories end up being like. But yeah, I think this one builds really well and ends really well. It's probably my favorite by him. I would recommend listening to any sort of horror soundtrack. There's a good horror manga comic reading soundtrack that I have on Spotify. I'll put it in the description. But I would recommend this to anyone who's a fan of his work. I mean, if you are a fan of any Junji Ito stuff and you don't have Uzumaki on your shelf, I don't know what you're doing, or any sort of horror manga, or any manga fan, I think this, this really this cost about like 25-30 Australian dollars. It's fairly cheap, the amount of content you're getting here, and very renowned piece of work. So yeah, highly recommend you check that out, and I might be doing some more of his books later. Thanks.